Good morning, YouTube. We got some more stuff to do on the GT40 to get it running properly.
So are you recording all of the nefarious activities?
For your new channel, my name is Dan, and this is my GT40, and we're outside of my dealership, NG Supercars. And if you've been watching the last few videos about this car, you know I've had some issues with it idling. So partly because I changed out the exhaust to be straight pipes, and that created a lot more flow, and the carburetor didn't like that. So we drilled some holes in the secondary butterflies, and that helped a lot, but we're still not quite there. So now we need to actually tune it to get it really dialed in. So I'll show you how we're gonna do that in just a second. And then we have some other tasks that I'd like to do to this thing. I would like to change the brake fluid. I don't know when it's been changed, but it's due. Probably change the oil. And also I have some street pads for the brakes. Right now it's sitting on brake race pads, and they create a ton of brake dust and they squeal a lot. Honestly, I'm probably not gonna be tracking this car. I'd rather put some street pads on it that are gonna be quiet and not create as much brake dust. I've never taken off these wheels. I know they're knockoffs. You have to do like a hammer thing and blah, blah, blah. I'm not real excited about that, but we'll try. So first things first, we're gonna try and dial in this carburetor. So I just drove it to the shop, so it's nice and warmed up. So that's step one of trying to dial it in. The second thing we gotta do is hook up a vacuum gauge to a vacuum port on this thing. And then what we're gonna do is adjust the idle screws until it gets to maximum vacuum. That's the theory. So there's 4 idle screws that adjust how much fuel goes in at idle. You're supposed to adjust them until it really pulls the most vacuum. In theory, that's what we're supposed to do. We're gonna give it a shot and see if we can get that to do it. Got my hearing protection because yeah, this thing's loud as hell and you aren't gonna be able to hear me when I'm actually doing it. So let me show you what I'm gonna do and then we'll actually do it. All right, here is my Holley carburetor. You can see right there. I don't wanna burn myself. Right there is one of the idle screws. There's one right there and there's 2 more on the other side in the exact same place. We're gonna hook up vacuum. Tightening it makes it leaner, loosening it makes it richer. So we're gonna tighten them and loosen them until we get the maximum amount of vacuum, and then we're gonna do that on all 4. So it's running pretty decent right now. It's kind of default setting, which is 1.5 turns from fully in. See if we can get this thing to idle just a little bit better, because occasionally it feels like it is gonna try and stall on me, so I'm not real enthused about that. All right, got the vacuum gauge hooked up, so I'm gonna start up and then you're not gonna be able to hear me, and we'll start messing around with the idle screws and see what we can get. Okay, went back and forth until I just got it to where I think it's happiest. Of note, after I got it set with nothing running, then I turned on the AC and kind of redid it to make sure that it was happy with the AC, because you know, you need to make sure it can actually run AC. Let me tell you a word of advice. Leaning over extremely hot engine with hot headers and all that stuff on a very hot Texas day sucks. I am sweating so hard right now. If you can do it on a cooler day, good thinking. Okay, YouTube, it's actually been about a week since the last time, since the last cut, I should say. Got busy, didn't get a chance to really get to the GT40. Here's what we're gonna do today, or at least attempt to do today if we have time. I wanna change out the brake pads. I wanna change out the brake fluid. To get these wheels off, I have a lead hammer. So these are knockoffs, and it's the old school knockoffs, and we're gonna try our best not to scratch a bunch of shit. So I'm not sure if this is the best solution or if a rubber mallet's the best solution. These ones are the correct orientation. The other side, they're reverse threaded. So we have to make sure we do those right, otherwise we're gonna be banging them on the wrong way. Also, I've never put this car in a 2-post lift, so I think I got it in the right position. We're gonna have to like get the front clamshell forward. I haven't done that yet, so that might be interesting. Oh, and we have to cut the safety wire. So you can see it's got a safety wire. And so we cut this and we bang off this guy. So you can see it's actually preventing it from rotating that way, which would be loose, right? So we're gonna have to cut it, and then we can hit it with the hammer and attempt to get this wheel off. All right, let's cut the safety wire. Oh, that's easy. There. Okay. The other thing I'm gonna do once we get this off is just clean everything. So let's see if I can, if that scratches it or not. Doesn't seem to. This is why we use the lead hammer. Look at that. It mars this up and not the... There. Okay. So I need to do this to all four, get them loose before we lift it in the air, because otherwise they'll just spin. There we go. There. These ones go backwards. So they're reverse threaded. I know you can hear all those crickets going ape shit right now. It's harder to get these rear ones because they're in there. Jeez. There. All right, let's lift the car up and get the wheels off. Theoretically, these go off this way. Oh, I've never done center locks like this before, so it's kind of cool. And let me get some gloves. Ugh. Oh, it's actually a pretty light wheel. It spins really good. Ew. Greasy. So yeah, we got bleeders top and bottom. Jeez, inside and out. Wow. 4 bleeders. I've never done Wilwoods before. It might just be this one bolt that holds it in. Well, let's get the wheels off, clean them, try and play with the brakes. All right, so I've got the front clamshell tilted forward. I didn't need to pull it all the way forward, but you got the clutch reservoir, the brake reservoir. I'm gonna change out the brake pads first, and then we'll attach the motive to one of these, put some pressure on it, and see if we get fluid out. And if we do, then we know it's connected. If we don't, then we know it's the other one. So we'll give it a shot. It's gonna be a little bit of guess and check. Unfortunately, I don't have any diagrams or anything to work off on this car, so it's a little bit of like, just visualize what you can see and try and guess what's the best solution. Hi YouTube. All right, we've got my, well, they're old but new brake pads. These are actually street pads. The pads that are on here are race pads, and they squeal and they're all sorts of loud. So I'm gonna put back in the street pads because, well, I don't need to race that much. These Wilwoods are pretty easy. The first thing we're gonna do is just use some brake clean and clean it up. So just get any crap off of it so it's nice and clean. Anytime you're doing brakes, it's a good time to clean up the caliper, and because, you know, make everything look nice. It's like, how often do you actually get in there and really get a chance to do stuff while the wheels are off? All right, next up we remove this locking pin that keeps the pads in there. So it's weird because this appears to be a 3/16 and then the other side seems to be an 11 millimeter. I put 7/16 on the other side and it was too big. So it's weird. I don't know what I'm doing as far as what's standard or what's metric. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's the one problem with this car, is it's kind of an amalgam of various metric and standard parts. Alright, so here's our little pin that holds in the pads. The pads are a little bit tight, so you kind of gotta get in there with a screwdriver and there we go. You kind of like pry it out. There. There we go. There's a pad. New one, go in. Kind of. There. Kind of squeeze the piston a little bit to get it to go in. They're almost the same size since it doesn't have that many miles on it. On the other side. I think it might be able to get under. Come on. There we go. Problem is you can't really just like tap it on one side because then it kind of cocks it. There. New pad. These things you gotta get perfectly aligned, otherwise they won't go in. There we go. Nice. And that's it. So strange thing about this car is the front and rear pads, brakes, everything, it's all identical. Whatever, that's cool. Usually, you know, you got bigger ones in the front, but they're the same. So I'm gonna do the rest of the pads and then we'll try and bleed it. Okay, so I believe this is the clutch cylinder. I think it actually has its own clutch reservoir, and this is the brake one. The reason I say that is because this had a ton more fluid than this one. This only had a tiny bit of fluid. So I sucked out the fluid on both of these, put in new .4 brake fluid that's rated for like 500 and something degrees, so it should be good for most driving and even a little bit of racing. Now what I'm gonna do is hook up the motive, pressurize it, and then we'll bleed, get rid of the old nasty stuff, because this fluid, when I tested it, had more than 4% moisture in it. So you can buy these little pen testers on Amazon. They're like $5-10. Worth it. Just stab it into the fluid and it just shows little lights and tells you how much moisture is in it. And if it's more than like 2%, you get rid of it. So let's hook up the motive and bleed some brakes. All right, so we've got my power bleeder. I pumped up to about 10 PSI. You actually add the brake fluid in to the reservoir. You can see the brake fluid is right there. And so it'll actually push through brake fluid, so you don't have to constantly top it off. All we have to do now is go over to the bleeders, crack them open, let it run until we see clear stuff come through, and then do the next bleeder and the next bleeder and so on. Okay, so we're gonna bleed these Wilwood calipers, and the way we do it is we use the tiny little nipple. It's a 1/4 inch apparently, and we only need to bleed the 2 upper ones. So there's 4, 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top, and apparently the reason they do that is because these are kind of like a generic caliper. It could be mounted this way or the other way. You don't know which way it's gonna be, right? So the whole point is you just need to do 1 on each side. And we have this teeny tiny little itty bitty guy. Look at that, it's so cute. Okay, let's squish that on there and see if I get any fluid. Oh yeah, look at that, I'm getting some fluid. That's some nasty fluid. Oh, and there's the air. Good. I was feeling some air in that thing, so a lot of air. So we should see it change to a nice color once we get to the new stuff. So this is all shit that's still in the line. That's good, we're starting to see less air, but it's still kind of a nasty color. Oh yeah, now it's looking nice. There we go. See how it's like a nice color, nice amber color. It's that brown shit. All right. Okay, and we'll do the other side. Ah. Shit. Let's do brake fluid. Let's go do the other ones. Okay, got all 4 calipers bled. This is the fluid that came out. It is almost black. I am 99% certain that this car has never had the brake fluid changed, and it was finished in 2017, 8-ish years old, 7, 8 years old. Nasty shit. That would explain why the brake pedal is not consistent. So, yeah, glad I did that. Sorry, Josh is washing his car, so you hear the stupid pressure washer, but we're gonna change the spark plugs on this thing. I ended up buying some nice NGK plugs. It's got these cheesy Autolite bullshit plugs in there. They're a little bit fouled up from when it ran super rich. So I was checking the gap. It was gapped at 45, so I'm gonna gap these at 45, and then we'll change them out. It's pretty simple. The only thing that's a little bit of a pain in the ass is access to a couple of these is gonna be a little tricky because there's not a whole lot of room. So I already did the first one just to kind of make sure it was the right plug and everything. So the second one's gonna be the bitch. This one right here, yeah, getting in there is gonna be yeah, it's a tight squeeze. Nope, can't go in that way. Might be able to come in from here. Oh yeah, here we go. There. All right, nothing like a good swivel spark plug socket. Try not to scratch the ceramic coating on these headers. There we go. Get in the hole. I'm down to the last 2. So here's the problem is the swivel sockets I have don't fit. This short well socket won't fit. This one does fit on those last 2, but it's round. And what I need is something like this, where it's got a hex end so you can actually put a wrench on it. I have that at home. I don't have it here at the shop. Damn it. Not sure what I'm gonna do about that. So I ordered the socket adapter thing. This is the cool thing about being a dealer is you can order parts from parts stores and they'll just like deliver it to you free. Should be here any minute. While we're waiting for that, I guess I'm gonna put the wheels back on because we got the brakes all done, and then I'm also gonna change the oil in this thing. All right, YouTube, we got something a little bit weird that we're gonna do for this car. We're gonna put on a safety wire. So because we have the center locks and they're just hammered on, there's a wire that you put on here that prevents it from unscrewing. So on this side, this direction is unscrewing. It's towards the front, right? On the other side, it's the other way. So it's still towards the front. It's always towards the front, but it's opposite. So we have a little tool. We have our safety wire. So we're gonna run it through this little hole right here, and I'll tilt that up so we don't have the brake caliper in the way. Get this out. A bunch of extra slack. We don't need to have it go too short. Okay, so we have my little special tool. All right. So first thing, get this out of there. Okay, the wire to be way up on the top of that. Probably that long. Maybe a little bit shorter than that. Okay. So we've got these handy dandy little plier things. You squeeze on the front, squeeze this thing down, lock it like that, and then you, hold on, then now you can actually see it. You just pull. See? Let's get that right in the right spot, and pull, 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 pull. And one more. There we go. So, unlock it, and I'm going to have to undo some of it. And what I'm going to do is run that one through the hole. Plug it through there. Yep. Okay. There. Yeah, we'll cut it probably about there. There. There we go. Safety wire attached. Ta-da! Alright, just letting the oil drain. And you already saw me do an oil change in this thing, so it's really, really easy. Very, very easy. Just waiting for that, and as soon as it's done, add some more oil. Well, YouTube, it's all set. Everything's done. Well, okay, I have 2 spark plugs I need to change tomorrow, but it's basically all done. So, only thing left to do is drive it home. But that's it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. We're going to be doing a lot of cool car stuff. You're going to want to stay tuned. It's going to be sweet.